you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you.
That's lovely. This is so wonderful to see you. It's been like, I feel like it's been 10 years since I've seen you.
You were not here last year, were you? Were you here
Yeah,
last year or
that's
the year
right.
before?
Yeah.
I've lost track of time.
No, we were there the year before. Last year we hadn't gone to Malaysia. Like we didn't go
Okay.
to the Mid Valley one. We went for another one-day exhibition which we had
Hmm.
organized on our own. So
Right.
that was the only one. That was like October, and then we
Okay.
hadn't gone. So it feels like I've not seen you since many years.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, right. So first of all, happy National Handloom Day to you.
And to you too.
I'm wearing a bonkai. The bonkai from Odisha. What are you wearing?
I'm wearing one of your cotton
Oh
bomkai.
wow, that's the same thing. You're wearing the doll bonkai.
That's
The
right.
doll? Yay! This is absolutely wonderful. I'm so happy. So, without discussing what we are gonna wear, we both are wearing bonkai.
Yeah, I remember this was the first sari of yours that
Yeah,
I got, and I was really, you know what it did for me, Amrita.
yeah,
Before getting this bomkai, right, I had a kind of reservation that I did not want any kind of human figures or figurines on my saris. So
yeah,
this was the
yeah.
first sari that broke that mold for me. I'm still not very keen on it, but there's just something about these dolls that they just capture your heart.
Yes. Yeah. So yours has dolls and mine has flowers. So you can see these little butties and mine also has a work. So this has a middle work and this has these flowers. So there are a lot
Right.
of things on my sari also. Okay. Okay. So first we'll start with something basic. Like how has
Sure.
your Instagram journey been? Because we know you as the lady who is always full of stories. So how has your journey been? Saris and
um,
stories, not just stories.
Yeah, you know, the reason why the Instagram page was started was first and foremost to document my saris. Because, you know, a
Yeah.
large percentage of my saris are hand-me-downs. A large percentage of my saris are inherited from my grandmother. And a large number of my saris are also not in very good condition because a lot of them are like 60, 50, 40 years old. And so I wanted this kind of opportunity to be able to photograph the saris at least before they completely disintegrated, just to have a memory of them. And you know, I'm not
Right.
very good at taking photographs. I'm not very good, not very disciplined about it. So Instagram was a great kind of idea suggested by some friends and some colleagues because you know it's pictorial based. You can do a little write up, and it's all put together in a nice, very visually driven platform. So it really started as documenting my saris, and then I discovered that every now and then, if I would write what was going on in my head as a
Huh.
caption for the post, people kind of responded to it. People would say to me, "Oh wow, you know, I really like what you're saying, or I can completely empathize with what you're saying, or what you are writing really resonates with me." And then it made me realize that this was a platform for me to be able to say what I want, basically. So that's exactly what I've been doing.
Yes. Right. Yeah, my sister has written a comment that documenting is very essential. So nice that you're doing that. My sister, Dr. Anita Sabat, she just put in a comment.
Nice. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So, so let us say, like, how many saris would you be having in your wardrobe? Like, since how many years you started collecting? Like, how has that journey been?
So it's a very fluid number, right? Because you've got to remember that when I first started wearing saris, and this was in my late teens, I already had a great collection of my mother's to be able to borrow from. I had a great collection from my grandmother to be able to borrow from. Now, these were not saris that were typical to what a teenager would wear, perhaps, and so that's what kind of shaped my sari journey. You know, I was never into the slinky chiffons and georgettes and the Sridevi kind of, you know, numbers when I was younger. It just, to me, a sari right from the get-go made it meant a chettinad cotton. It meant a kanjivaram. To me, those were saris. You know, I did not see saris as glittery occasion kind of wear. I saw them as everyday wear. Especially because my mother wore them every day to work. You know, she wore her printed silks and her tassel silks and her jutes every day to work, even back in the 80s and 90s. And, you know, these sort of tassers, especially in raw silks, were not very popular in Malaysia back then, but, you know, my mom was a huge fan of them. So I started off with that, and then when I started working, I bought a few of my own saris, but I'll be honest with you, Amrita, it really wasn't necessary. So I really don't have, I would say, from that first 10 years of working, between the ages of maybe 23 to 33, I really didn't have that many of my own saris, you know. I was more than happy with whatever I could get, because I'm happy to reuse, and I don't believe that saris come in trends. I don't believe that, you know, they have to be a fashion for a year. I don't mind wearing a 60-year-old sari to a dinner party. It doesn't make a difference to me, right? A sari is a sari. So nowadays, what happens is, my grandmother has since passed on, but I still have many. I inherited many of her saris. My mom is not starting to work anymore, so, you know, I have a lot of her saris. My mother-in-law has a fantastic collection of saris, and her wardrobe is open to me. So, you know, between those three collections and between my own, yeah, it's quite a few. I don't think I should mention a number.
That's okay. Yeah. So, okay, so you work in the media, and how do people perceive you? That when you're clad in saris, then do they perceive you differently? How is it?
Yeah, that certainly was the case when I started out. You know, I've been working for a good part of 20 decades, of 2 decades now, 20 years. And when I first started off, you know, when I was a young fashion writer, and I used to work in a very glamorous kind of beauty magazine, fashion magazine, an international fashion magazine at that. And, you know, all of the women who I worked alongside, wonderful women who I worked alongside, were dressed in the most trendy and most fantastic kind of latest styles.
Yes.
And we really had our fingers on the pulse of style, because, you know, we would get runway collections in before anybody else would see them, right? So in that sphere, I stuck out like a sore thumb, and it wasn't easy being young and sticking out.
Okay.
But, you know, at some point, when I moved to broadcasting, especially, people just started assuming that the sari was my identity. It isn't really, because it's not a cultural thing for me. It's what I feel comfortable in. And if that's how you define identity, then I'm okay with that. But when they started associating the sari with me, then of course the questions reduced. Then once you've been in the industry for 15, 20 years, and you're considered, you know, at the top of your game, really nobody asks questions.
Right. So in the beginning, maybe they saw it differently, but now it's been so long that it's accepted, like completely, like no questions raised, like that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, Sumitra, a lot of people look up to you. They love seeing what you're wearing and all your beautiful stories. So, how do you feel being an influencer? Because you are actually changing in some way how people see saris, how people see women as such. Through your posts, you convey so many different things. So, how do you feel being someone who can influence on social media?
So the goal of sarees and stories, as I mentioned before, was always documentation. But more importantly, it wasn't about encouraging people to wear a sari. In fact, it was the opposite. It was to say to people, you can wear whatever you want as long as you are comfortable
Exactly.
with it. Yeah. And
Right.
this was something that was very, very important to me because I never wanted to, Amrita, I used to have this situation where sometimes I'd be at a dinner party or I'd be at an event, and people would come up to me, older women would come up to me, and they would drag their daughters along, and they would say, "See, Sumitra's wearing a sari. Why can't she as well?" And I felt so bad because that's not the goal. The goal is not to compare yourself to somebody else and say that's the standard I need to reach.
I can't hear you. I think there was a slight connection problem from Sumitra's side. We'll join her back now. Yeah, Sumitra has just come. Yeah.
Hi, sorry,
Okay. We
what
will have
happened
you
there?
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Okay.
can you hear me? You can see me?
Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Okay. Okay, lovely. Yeah.
Okay, so I was saying that the goal was not to kind of tell people, look, I'm wearing a sari, you need to wear a sari too. The goal was to be able to say to people, listen, this is what I'm comfortable in. I can be the only person in the room wearing a sari, and I'm okay with that. You should be able to wear whatever that you want. If it is a sari that you want to wear, you're welcome to look at my page and see how I kind of go about my day in a sari, because that's what I do. I work in a sari. And so I end up wearing a sari for anywhere between 8 to 18 hours a day sometimes. Sometimes it's 2 sari days, sometimes it's a 3 sari day. And so that was the whole kind of point, to be able to tell people that don't stress yourself out about thinking, I am an Indian woman and therefore I must wear a sari. I think that's the worst thing that you could ever do to yourself. That's the worst sort of pressure.
Right.
And I think it's also something that kind of drives young women away from wearing the sari, because there's so much of expectation. Like, this is how I'm meant to dress when I go to a wedding. Then it's nonsense. It's unnecessary. I think if you organically work your way towards falling in love with the sari, then the journey
Yeah.
becomes that much more fulfilling, because you're not been forced
That's
into it.
Yes, yes. Completely agree with you. So, do you feel that seeing you, more people in Malaysia are wearing saris or looking for saris? Do you feel that way?
Well, I do, only because of the feedback that I get. Only because every couple of days I get really, really nice, heartfelt messages from young women, especially, saying that
Yeah.
inspired to wear a sari once a week or once a month. And I think it's great. I think in your own time. And there are
Yeah.
others as well who write to me and say, I like the idea of it, but I'm not so confident yet, but maybe one day. Fine, absolutely fine, great as well. I have older women writing to me saying, I used to wear saris to work a long time ago, and I can't remember why I stopped, and now I want to go back to them. Great. I'm all about encouraging people to dig through their cupboards, dig through their mother's
Yeah.
cupboard, their grandmother's cupboard, see what's available, see what you have at your disposal, see what's tucked away, and start your journey that way. Instead of maybe buying a sari that is expensive and you're afraid to wear out a lot, look for something that's at the tip of your fingers, basically, and start with that.
Yes. Yes. That's really lovely. And most of the times that we have visited Malaysia, we have seen a lot of people coming in saris, and so that really makes one feel good. And we are so many Indian exporters having saris, bed sheets, jewelry, such a lot of things, and we really feel happy. We feel proud that people feel accepting of the saris and blouses, and there's a lot of things which we all can offer, and even the local Malaysian vendors, they also have a lot of the things, so we feel completely at home. Okay.
Hmm.
So I was actually wondering about this since quite a long time. We are seeing quite a lot of online bullying. So we are seeing people who are trying to hijack famous Instagram accounts and demanding money, and we are seeing a lot of online hatred basically. So I just wanted to learn, like, how, like, do you face these experiences first of all, and how do you deal with them?
Okay, so I think when it comes to harassment or bullying online and scams, it's a really wide field. Okay? So, what's the most obvious? The most obvious is a scam to me. The most obvious is a scam where somebody is clearly trying to say that they are one person, but they are another person. They're pretending to be one
Right.
person in order to get
Yeah.
your confidence. Okay, that's a scam.
Right.
And so there's a lot of that. And the only way around that is to have your wits about you. Generally, this is my rule is this. If it's too good to be true, it's probably not. So anybody who's writing to you via DM to say that you're so beautiful, you're a model, I want to cast you in a movie, I think you're fantastic, I want you to come and appear for a Handlooms ad campaign. I think that you're
Yeah.
so brilliant. I think I want to do a photo shoot with you. Anybody who's doing that via DM is
Yeah.
because there are other ways of getting in touch. I don't know whether DM is the best. Each time a request like that comes in via DM, I always have red flags going on. I have little alarm bells going on. Now, then you have other where you can be other people and they want to give you confidence and have get some money out of you. And here again, my rule is very, very simple. Really, really love online. I'm sorry, but whatever it is, whoever it is who has written to you, you should not be looking for love online. Connections need to be made in real life, not online. And if you're flattered that this person is saying that you're the most beautiful creature that he has ever seen, it's not just a flattery that you need to be worried about. That there's something more to it. Of course, there are also other problems when it comes to online harassment, because the other side, the more kind of the less dangerous side is the entitlement that people, when they see a public person on social media, they immediately feel that, they have the right to say, I think you should grow your hair longer. I think you should wear a round bindi instead of a straight one. I think you should try sleeveless blouses. And they forget that they're talking to a real life person. Because if I was walking down the street and somebody a stranger came up to me and said, hey, would you like to have you ever considered wearing a green blouse instead of a black blouse with your sari?
Yes.
And I would say, mind your own business.
Exactly.
But on social media, because there is a screen, because there is relative anonymity, because there is a sort of invisible barrier, people feel that it's okay. And they forget that on the other side of that connection is a human being. If you want to do it in real life, you shouldn't be doing it on social media. That's my rule. That's a really, really simple, straightforward rule.
Yeah, that's very right. Um, no, but there is this particular thing about hacking of famous Instagram accounts. So I have heard that people send a DM, and then if you reply or do something with that, then they take over the account and they don't give it back to you until you pay them money. So,
Correct.
have you like had a brush with something like this, or have you known a close experience or anything of this sort?
Oh no, I've received these DMs before. I certainly have. I mean, scams are not uncommon in Malaysia. I mean, whether it's a telephone scam or online scam, it's not uncommon. You know, for you to even get a phone call, from let's say the police. They say, with the police, your car number plate has been used in a car that was used in a robbery. We need you to come down to the police station. And honestly, Amrita, these are all scams because if the police wanted you, they would turn up at your doorstep. They don't
Yeah,
need to call you. Really. They
exactly.
absolutely don't need to call you.
Yeah,
And the trouble with scams from positions of authority is that people get scared. They get a call from somebody saying that they are a bank teller. Your account has been frozen. Give me your identity card number and your passport number and we'll unlock it. People don't think. They immediately think, oh my goodness, right? It must be something important. And they freeze. And really, when you think about it, if your account has been blocked, how is even the process going to happen? Because
yeah,
think of any account they want. So, an Instagram scam, right? When you get DMs coming in, and these direct messages very often will say,
yeah. I just missed the last part of what you were saying. The video just went off.
okay,
Yeah,
so the
you
last,
can hear me?
yeah, so
Yeah, I missed the last part. Yeah.
So even with online scams, the modus operandi, the MO is always the same. They try and scare you. Okay, so they send you a message saying that your account has been locked or your account has been frozen. Give me your password and give me your login details, and I will unblock it for you. You need to think about the fact that if your account really has been blocked, why does Instagram need your password? They have every password in the world in their circles. They have it all locked
Yeah,
away. Why would they need it from you? So the thing to remember is you mustn't panic. And this is something that I've been going over for the last week or so. Instagram and Facebook have other ways of getting in touch with you besides DM. In fact, there is an actual
yeah,
menu under settings where it says emails from Instagram, and that's how they get in touch with you. They don't send you DM. And people,
yeah,
again, immediately they see and they react. It's a knee-jerk reaction rather than stopping to think whether, this could be real or not. Now, here's where it gets difficult, right? I wouldn't blame or judge people for getting caught in a scam. It happens. Huh? Mistake. All of us make mistakes.
yeah, right. Yeah.
It must happen to you twice. That's the most important thing to me. And if
Yes.
you are able to, if it has happened to you, you need to be able to work up the courage in some way to be able to talk about it, because that's what's going to help other people. Uh,
Yeah.
Stop being scammed, and really
Right.
that's the most important thing, right? To be able to help other people. So, which is why I think it's really important to be able to talk about it over and over again and tell people to be aware. What is the worst thing in the world if you get a DM saying that if you don't give me your password, your account will be locked? Let them lock the account. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fine. You can always contact Instagram and say, hey, I got the DM here. Is it true? Is it fake? Don't
Right.
need to do that. The
That's
key
right.
is not to panic. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. This scam thing, like, it's really big because there are too many of them happening, and very famous accounts have just vanished into thin air. It's quite scary. But I have seen that in your posts, you give quite a lot of insight, which is needed. Because often, like, people new to Instagram or those who post a lot of photos may not know about all these inside things. So, It's good we talked about this. And I want to ask you about the exhibitions. So with COVID, with all this lockdown, so Malaysia does, like, do you have any exhibitions or gatherings? I think no. Like this
Um,
entire time?
no, the regulations are slowly easing.
Okay.
Um, so you're allowed to have, I think, gatherings and exhibitions with, standard operating procedures in place, with physical distancing in place. But Amrita, I'll be honest, it's really not safe yet. I mean, we're at a very, very low
Exactly.
case mode at the moment. We are extreme. Malaysia's done so well. Our response to COVID-19 has been swift. It has been a little bit, strong, and so
Yeah.
we're at a really, really low caseload, but we are not at no caseload. So I think
Right.
it's difficult to say, right? I mean, I understand businesses are facing a really, really hard time, but I think if
Yeah.
you want to be able to continue to be in business next year, we need to keep going through hard times right now, at least.
Yes. So, do you miss the exhibitions, the gatherings which used to happen, and do you miss going to them?
You know what? I'm a little bit of an introvert, so I will do the kind of I like exhibitions if I can go and be able to see really nice things that I want to see, but I don't like crowds. So actually,
Yeah.
COVID-19 is actually very good for somebody like me because I really don't like crowds. I used to do social distancing way before there was a pandemic. So yeah, that's the only thing that I'm not like about exhibitions. I really don't like the number of people that go to them at the same time. I wish there was a way of getting private
Yeah.
of not having to meet anybody else at the same time.
Yeah, I really used to enjoy because like you used to take a break from work and then you
Yeah,
used to come down to our stall and then because
yeah.
it was a 10-day thing, so in between you could walk down to our stall and then
Well,
admire the saris and get back. So it was so much fun.
oh, yeah. So I worked right next door to where the exhibition was. So it was really, really easy. It was my lunchtime treat, actually. Instead, I would just come down and just be surrounded by
Yeah.
handlooms for a while and go back to the office, go back to the studio. Yeah.
Yeah, but we really miss going to KL. Like, I sometimes think that I wish none of this would have happened. At least once we would have gone in this year. Because everyone keeps sending messages. When are you coming to KL? When are you coming to Malaysia? So we really miss. That was one reason why I thought on National Handloom Day, let's get Sumitra. She'll tell us something about Malaysia and we'll connect back. Okay,
Right.
so I also wanted to ask, how do you keep yourself energized and fit during these times? These are quite difficult times. There's COVID, you have to stay home, do a lot of things with so many regulations. So, how do you keep yourself fit, energized, happy? How do you do it?
It goes back to what I said earlier. I'm actually an introvert at heart. So as unfair and as privileged as this sounds, the lockdown really didn't affect me too badly in terms of my mood and energy. I like being at home. I like just having one other person, and that's my husband. He's an introvert as well. He like doing that as well. So I don't think at the peak of the lockdown, I don't think we left the house for about 2 months. Groceries delivered, all of that. And we might have gone out once or twice, but it really didn't affect me too badly in that sense. We're also really, really lucky because I live in a home with a garden and dogs. I can imagine it's very, very challenging if you're living in an apartment in a small space, but I'm very, very grateful for the small privileges of life to be able to do that. And then when the lockdown started easing slightly, the neighborhood where I live has got a really nice park, it's got a lake, and it's not open to the public, so it was opened up to the residents. and the ability to be able to go out, to be able to stretch. That was really good. I really didn't miss the meeting people part of it.
Wow. Okay. And like thinking about, people, they like, just getting back into the thing, like people often tell that, okay, your hair is like this, you should grow it long, your hair should have been way longer or something like that. So how do you, like, do you have to tell them that no, my hair was always like this and I love it? So what do you have to do?
Oh no, I'm usually a lot more blunt than that. If a stranger on Instagram says to me, "You should do this," I will just probably respond by saying, "I should not have to do anything. I don't want to, and I don't appreciate you telling me that." In fact, very often I tell the other person that your advice is not welcome, and I leave it at that. I don't explain. I don't explain why I think why I prefer my hair long, why I like blouses a certain way. I always go back to the root cause or rather the roots of the problem. I think whatever a stranger is trying to ask me about myself has no place on my feed. That's just something you have to accept.
No, but I want to tell you that we have been big fans of your smart short hairstyle. So I personally wanted to know that since when do you have this hairstyle? Like how many years back, or like when did you start having short hair, this
Um,
hairstyle?
It, you know what? I don't remember. It comes and goes. I mean, I'll grow my hair out and then I'll get really fed up with it and I'll cut it really short. I don't have a rule for myself about a certain way that I need to look all the time. You know, so my hair has been like way shorter than this and it's way longer than this, and it's to me, it's just it's hair. Even if I have a haircut that I think is too short, you know, I'll come back and I'll feel really bad about it. I look at myself, I tell myself, okay, it will go back. And if it doesn't go back, there's always a way. So it doesn't matter. You don't need to stress about it.
Wow. That's lovely. I think like we are coming towards the end. So I just wanted to ask you that how do you see the handloom scene in Malaysia? Like, do you feel that people are consciously looking for handloom, or are they willing to go for the cheaper machine-made things and the glittery things? What do you feel? What is the fashion scene, or how do you feel sarees are making an impact over there? More people are switching over. What do you feel?
So the problem in Malaysia, and this is a generalization, it's not true of every single sari enthusiast. The problem here in Malaysia is that the handloom education is very, very low. So people know the word handloom. They read about it, and they like the idea of it. But then if you ask them to be able to look at two saris and pick up one of the handloom saris, they wouldn't know where to start. And a lot of the problems that many of the large shops here in Malaysia sell what they call a handloom sari, but are not. And so you can't blame the
Yeah.
consumer for getting completely confused, because they come back and they'll say, "Oh, this is my bridal kanjivaram and it's hand-loomed," and I'll look at it and I'll think to myself, "No, actually, it's artificial still." I can't tell them that
Yeah.
unless they ask
That's
me.
really.
Yeah, if they ask me, then I will say something. But then it's heartbreaking because these people spend a lot of money on what is essentially
Right.
polyester.
Yeah.
You know. So education, I think people like the idea of handloom. Of course, there's also the thing about handloom size and plain than the glittery stuff. So it's education, and we need education when it comes to being able to identify what a handmade garment feels like, why it's priced the way it's priced, and why it's difficult. For those of you who from, you're not even
Yeah. So actually, we when we go to exhibitions, then we explain a lot. You have first hand knowledge about what we do, because we have to explain and we have to tell them that this sari is made like this, and this is bonkai versus what is a sambalpuri, what is a santhal. So this is a santhal sari. We have taken these types also. This is worn by tribals. So a lot of this education has to come from the brands, and it also has to come from the consumers who will try to look for ethical brands, because that's where they will learn about the behind process, who made my clothes, because that information is not given by everyone. For example, probably resellers may just show the sari and not know anything about it. That's also possible. So what do you suggest for consumers, say of Malaysia, that how should they, identify or probably know that how can they get authentic stuff, authentic handloom? So are there any words for Malaysia or even worldwide, because everyone is watching you now? You can tell something
So
to all of them.
I think first and foremost, there needs to be appreciation for handloom products, right? A lot of the
Right.
time, there isn't enough of an understanding that a human being has sat at a loom and for 5 days done nothing but move his
Yeah.
hands and legs in order to put together a length of cloth that is 6 yards long that you wrap around yourself. That idea needs to sink in. It's not a machine in a factory that's spitting out hundreds
Absolutely.
a minute. It's
Yeah.
not. So we need to be able to put that image, we need to be able to put that imagery back into the consumer's mind first and foremost, because you need to understand that what you are doing when you wear handloom is you are supporting somebody's livelihood.
Exactly.
If you have a consumer who doesn't want to think about that and who's only looking at the price point, you are already up against you are already, because they will say, I don't care who made my clothes, I just want the cheapest option that looks the best.
Yeah.
So how do
That
you
I
return humanity? How do you return that sense of empathy that somebody else contributed to what I get to wrap around myself? That's the first step. I don't think we're anywhere near talking about the other steps until we get human beings to understand that they have fellow human beings to contribute to their happiness. I'm wearing something that
Yes.
somebody made by hand, and I can't think of a greater joy than that.
Yes, it was so wonderful to get such lovely views from you, Sumitra, and talking to you after such a long time. It has really made me feel very delighted. Thank you, Sumitra. It was so lovely talking to you. We really
So
enjoyed, and I'm sure all the listeners enjoyed.
totally my pleasure. Thank you, Amita.
Thank you. Happy Handloom Day, and we always look forward to your posts. Bye.
Thank you, Amita. See you soon.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.